MySims Cozy Bundle came out a couple of months ago now for Nintendo Switch. However, it has actually just released on PC. I've already done a beginner's tips and tricks, basically talking about the game as an overview, what the aim of the game is, how to befriend people, how to unlock tools, but you lot had an awful lot of questions. It seems that within the time of the Switch version releasing to the PC version, we've kind of been coming to grips with MySims all over again, and maybe you might be a brand new player who has never played one of these games. So I wanted to do a tips and tricks expanded for the release of the PC version. Now, the first question that I got, and this was whilst I was building, you can do this either in the blueprint section when you're building furniture, or you can actually also do it when you are building someone's house. I think this also carries over to MySims Kingdom. I will hold my hands up and say I haven't played too much of MySims Kingdom. I do want to try and get like an essence guide for that game up, maybe sometime next week, but I desperately need to put some hours into that. If you would like to see that, please do not hesitate to give me some encouragement down in the comments, because I know if I have to hold myself accountable for making that video, I will actually play it. Picking up an item or an object, and then you can actually copy these so that they stay in your hand so that you can place them repeatedly. Now, if you just place either a block or a building object using A, that means that it places it, and then if you want to use the same one again, you have to go back down to the menu, choose it again, and then place it again, and it just adds a little bit of time. This is very much like The Sims, where you can just replicate an object to place it many times, but instead of using A on the Switch to place it, use Y. And then of course this video is celebrating the release on PC, so I also want to talk about the PC controls. But on the PC, you just pick it up normally using your left click. Once you have it like held in your hand, hold down your right click, keep your finger pressed down on the right click, and then left click to place it. And then if you're still holding with your right click, then it will carry over that item that you're holding, and you can just hold that for as long as you want and place multiples of those objects. So pick it up using your left click like normal, then hold down your right click, and as you're placing it, you can use the left click to place it, but keep the right held down. Speaking of building, if you decide that you no longer like someone's house, or you don't want them actually living in your town, maybe you're trying to get all the commercial sims and you actually have realized that you've moved a few too many townies in, so perhaps you're not leveling up in your star level as quickly as you want, so you want to kick out some of those townies. You can do this by clicking on a mailbox. So every single lot in MySims will have a mailbox outside it. You have the option to remodel their houses. You might want to do this to the earlier houses. Maybe you've unlocked a load more objects now that you just feel would fit their vibe better. Basically build it from the ground up. You can delete everything. You can just change like the windows and doors, maybe the colors and stuff like that. You can also relocate them, again, if an area is opened up that you feel like they'd maybe fit in a little bit better, or you can just kick them out, which actually just removes them and your build from your town. When it comes to crafting furniture, either for tasks for commercial sims, or if you just want to remodel someone's house and give them more furniture that you feel applies to them a little bit better, again, maybe you're further in the game and you're like, there's not much else that is left for me to do. A lot of people have been asking me, how do you actually reach the amount of essences that they want you to use? Because sometimes they'll ask you to create a bed, and the bed will have about 10 blocks on it maximum, but they want you to use a total of 24 essences. And the way you can go about this without it starting to look silly is you can actually break those blueprint boxes that you see down into smaller parts. What I tend to do is try and figure out like the maximum number of blocks that I need for the essences, and you still have to fill out the basic blueprint where the sparkles are to have that be registered as a bed within your game, but you can do that using much smaller blocks, so you can kind of stack those on top of each other, and then each of those individual blocks will obviously count as an essence when you do happen to paint it. So I've always found that this is the easiest way. You can also just use your imagination. Say if you're building a fridge, then you can put like little jars up or like food containers and paint them certain colors to represent different food items. Just make sure you're breaking it down into smaller pieces, and then you'll be able to fit all the essence paint onto that build that you need to actually complete the task. Speaking of essences and furniture, you can actually go into townie homes, and then if you talk to them and say give stuff, it freely lets you just like hover around their home in build mode, and you can actually steal their furniture. So this doesn't work for kind of the decor items, but it does work for the actual furniture that either you have built or the game has randomly generated for that townie. So if you notice that someone has a really cool like bed or arcade game that you would quite like, delete those pieces of furniture from their house. They will appear in your inventory, and then you can go back to your home, you can redecorate your home, and all that stuff will be in your inventory, so you can just use that freely in your own house. Removing and taking townie's furniture is also extremely helpful if you have actually soft locked yourself out of an essence. Sometimes you don't realize how few essences you actually have in the world. This is predominantly the kind of gardening essences, so the things that grow on trees, but sometimes you can accidentally cut down a tree and then you can make a bunch of furniture and then quickly run out of said essences. The good news is though, if you actually go into a townie home that you know has a piece of furniture that has the specific essence that you have happened to run out of, again, go to gift them something, take that furniture, put it into your inventory. They will be a little upset at first, but you can always give it back to them once you have the essence. Take it back to your workshop, edit that specific item that has the essence on it, and then if it's painted in that essence, you can just use the default basic paints, which are just the couple of wood tones, or you can choose another essence that you have an awful lot of. Just make sure you're replacing the paint of the essence that you need with something else, and that will actually add that essence back into your backpack. So you'll at least have one of those essences. Obviously that counts towards paint, but it also physically is an essence that you can then leave with that essence and plant it, so that you can regrow those trees. If you are coming towards the end of the game and you maybe want an Uber sim to appear within your game, that means you actually have to max out your town in their specific interest. And this is where essences really will come into play. So there are 6 different interests in MySims. There's cute, fun, geeky, spooky, studious, and tasty. And when you're building furniture, when you're painting furniture, you can actually load up your essence slots, and the colors behind the essence will actually show what interest they are. I actually figured this out when I was editing one of my old MySims videos. I hadn't noticed it up until that point, but the pink equals cute, yellow is fun, blue is geeky, purple is spooky, green is studious, and then orange is tasty. If you're just looking to design furniture that you know specific townies will enjoy based off their first and secondary interests, you can just use those color codes to know which essence actually correlates to which interest. Now, I have done a full dedicated essences guide. I didn't go over the gardens in extreme depth, but there are actually certain essences that you can only collect in your garden. Now, your garden unlocks when you reach star level 2. You can travel to the train station and then you can get a train over to your gardens. There is no online functionality in MySims Cozy Bundle. They haven't brought back the servers or anything like that. So this is only really used for you to kind of practice building, I guess, considering no townies can actually live in your garden, which is unfortunate. I wish they had updated this for the Cozy Bundle, especially now that we don't have any online gameplay and your friends can't technically live in your garden anymore. I wish they had just unlocked those houses so that you could have more townies or more commercial sims roaming around. Really, all the gardens are useful for is collecting those essences that are available in the gardens. I haven't gone in and like recorded everything that is available, but you can prospect in the gardens, you can fish, and you can also shake trees. These are all of the essences that are available there. So you have banana, bat, batfish, beta fish. Obviously, the fish are available from fishing. The bat is available from prospecting. Bananas grow on trees. Compass is from prospecting. Cube puzzles grow on trees. Electric eels fishing. Freezer bunny, I'm not too sure on. That might be prospecting. Fruit pie is definitely prospecting. Kittens grow on trees. Microscopes are from prospecting. Penguins are from prospecting. Pinwheel grow on trees. Puppet prospecting. Raven grow on trees. Robofish fishing. Rubber ducky also from fishing. Salmon from fishing. Telescope from prospecting. Textbook from a tree. Tuna fishing. Uber shiny is prospecting, and UFO is prospecting. Shout out to Upbeat Funny 6007 for this information over on Reddit. This is all about the Cozy Bundle gardens. It used to be that only specific players had specific essences available in those gardens, so that kind of encouraged you to go and visit friends' gardens to get certain essences. That function has actually been removed, so you have all of the exclusive garden essences available in your own garden. You can get every single one, and all essences can be obtained from any area. So one prospecting site isn't going to give you any different to the other prospecting site, same with fishing. However, that does make it much harder to get more essences, because obviously a bigger pool then leads to less luck of finding certain ones. I, for example, have still never found a microscope, even though I've prospected the gardens for hours. Now, not a lot of Sims need these garden essences. However, a few of them do, which is definitely unfortunate, especially if you're having a really hard time finding those essences. So I will link this and also the essence information in the description down below. Speaking of leveling up, this game revolves around getting up your star level, growing the town back to its full capacity, bringing commercial Sims back in to raise your star level. Star level is predominantly raised by commercial Sims. Commercial Sims are those Sims that will give you specific tasks and also tend to run a business, such as the museum, the library, the costume shop, the hairdressers, etc, etc. I go over the difference kind of between commercial Sims and townies in like both of the videos that I've done previously that will be linked at the end of this video. So if you are struggling to raise your star level, make sure you're predominantly focusing on those townies who are commercial Sims, because doing their tasks raises your star level, which then in turn unlocks specific places that you can then travel to, and also allows more people to move in because you get more lots. So as you raise those star levels, you actually acquire tools. Level 1, you will get access to the crowbar. That means that you can pry open wooden bars. I'm fairly sure the only thing that this unlocks is a cave in the main kind of neighborhood. When you reach a level 2, you get a saw, which means that you can cut down fallen logs, which then gives you access to the forest. At level 3, you get the pickaxe, which allows you to break rocks. That allows you access to the desert, and then also some extra areas within the forest. And then at level 4, you unlock the blowtorch, which means that you can incinerate metal doors, which again gives you access to more areas in both the forest and the desert. Speaking of the forest, there is actually an orange tree as you enter the forest and then head towards your right. There is a little plateau that has an orange tree. I spoke about this in my essences video, but I hadn't figured out how you actually reach those essences. Now this plateau is actually blocked off. I think it's by rocks at the beginning, so you can't actually reach that area. However, if you go to where you can see the orange tree, which is either around like the back of the plateau or at the front of the plateau, you can actually hover your mouse over the tree and you can shake it. I thought that your MySim character would be able to like magnetize those to them. However, that is not the case. You again have to either use your mouse or your cursor if you're on Switch, which you can do with your right joystick to bring up the hand, hover over the oranges with that hand, and then click them to collect, which obviously means that you can get oranges a little bit earlier earlier than level 3 when you do receive that pickaxe. And then once you have those oranges, you can just plant that tree in a more easily accessible area. I tend to put it in the main area, and it just means that you have access to oranges a little bit faster than if you were just waiting to level up. In my previous videos, I didn't really talk about fishing too much, so I want to talk about fishing on the PC version first. Now, you can go up to a body of water. They usually have a dock actually available for fishing. That's where you'll see the fish interaction. So head up onto one of those docks, click the interaction to start fishing, and then you use your mouse to actually direct the bobber. Once you see bubbles appear, head over to those bubbles, hold your left click button, and then rapidly shake your mouse. So it's the same as like shaking trees. I always thought that you held your left mouse and pulled back, and I always thought that fishing was really, really janky. Don't get me wrong, it can still be a little, but I am playing the older version. This might have been slightly updated or fixed in the MySims Cozy Bundle, but just shake your mouse rapidly whilst holding the left click over a bubble, and you should catch the fish that you want. And then to actually exit, you just use WASD. I tend to walk backwards away from the dock using S. You don't like hit escape or anything like that. Just start to move and your sim will stop fishing. On the Switch, it's pretty much the same thing. Walk up to a dock, choose the interaction to fish, and then you use your right joystick to actually direct your bobber. Head over to those bubbles, and then it'll go underwater. Hit A once it goes under the water, and you should catch your fish. Finally, I got an awful lot of questions on how to save, which is definitely valid considering it feels a little weird. I always assumed on the PC version it was escape. It is not. You actually hit the spacebar to save. So that will come up with your game options. It will also come up with save or exit to main menu. Just make sure before you exit to main menu, you save your game. It's not like The Sims 4 where if you exit to main menu that you then get the option to save. If you choose to leave to main menu, it will not save. So make sure you're saving before you either shut the game down or before you're heading back to the main menu. And then to save on the Switch, to bring up those options, you actually hit the plus. And there we have it. There's some tips on the MySims Cozy Bundle on PC to celebrate the release. Keep in mind, I was recording this on the old version. So if you're like, whoa, the Cozy Bundle definitely does not look as good as I was thinking it was going to, just keep in mind, this is the old version. This is the OG. That has unfortunately been removed from the EA app now. It was on sale. It was sold before the Cozy Bundle came out for £5. However, you now have to get the Cozy Bundle, which is £31.50 in the UK. But that does also include MySims Kingdom. I just thought I would point that out. So sorry to those of you who may have missed it. The Cozy Bundle is the only edition that you can get right now on the EA app. I hope this video was helpful. If you have any other questions, please do not hesitate to leave them in the comments down below. I will try and test things. I will try and get back to you as quickly as possible. Again, if you would like to see dedicated videos on MySims Kingdom, definitely let me know, because I need to get my butt in gear and I need to get playing that game. I think I'm only on like the 3rd island, which is useless. I call myself a simmer. Thank you again to everyone's questions on the previous MySims videos that I did. It obviously allowed me to do this video. It was very helpful to know what you were maybe struggling with, what you need a little bit more information on. I hope you enjoy your time with MySims and MySims Kingdom. If you have picked them up, let me know how you're finding them, and I will speak to you all in my next one. Bye now.